Wine number 10.
White wine from British Columbia. Stay tuned. We're coming right back.
Yeah.
There you go, Canadian wine lovers, Carl's Wine Club members, Mira Boucher,
Carl
everyone
Boucher.
across the country. Happy Saturday. It's night number 10 of our epic pan-Canadian Advent calendar. We are on a memorable trek across Canada, discovering a brand new wine every night with some of our most amazing members across the country. What a treat we've been doing now, day number 10 out of 12. I mean, we've discovered some memorable wine in the last week and a half. What do you think, Mira?
I think so. And I mean, everyone who's been opening these bottles or unwrapping them, if they're not necessarily like cracking them open every night. I think everyone's found at least one.
I know a few that they've been cracking them all. That's for sure.
That's true. That's true. And I think everyone's found at least one that they can go, wow, which is really awesome. And I don't think any that you would turn your nose at. I mean, these are all amazing wines. I think the lowest rated wine in this whole thing, there's maybe a couple at 92 points, which are already like rock star wines. So amazing wines. And
yeah, let's recap. Okay. Let's recap for people who are just tuning in. It's day number 10. So let's go back to day number 1. I mean, like, it feels like it was a month ago, but yeah, all the way back to my first night in Merritt in my hotel room when we started. It was night number 1 was Benjamin Bridge, non-vintage reserve. And we hosted Jean-Benoit Delaurier, so traditional sparkling wine. Day number 2, we went to Malivoire Estate Winery on the Beamsville Bench. We had the Courtenay Gamay. Courtenay is that unique block, that original block on their home estate that's been vinified separately since the very beginning in 2002. Special Gamay, night number 2. Night number 3, we came to the East Kelowna West Slope, East Slope Kelowna, East Kelowna Slope. Oh my God, I've been seeing it so many times. The East Kelowna Slope here in the Okanagan with the old vines, Tantalus Rieslings. Again, from some of the oldest Riesling vines here in British Columbia. David Patterson was with us explaining the whole thing. Night number 4, we went to the Lake Erie North Shore, where we had a Syrah from Mouchadre Vineyard. Melissa Mouchadre was with us in interview. Night number 5, we went on the Golden Miles talking with Mark Hopley, winemaker at Hester Creek, and we cracked the 2022, a little baby GSM here, young wine, but super expressive and so unique as well. So that was night number 5. Night number 6, we went to Prince Edward County, land of Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. And we had the 2021 Trail Estate Pinot Noir, having a chat with Mackenzie Brisebois, the winemaker. Night number 7, we spent it with Thomas Batchelder, the legendary Thomas Batchelder, and we tasted a small batch of 45 cases Mio Chardonnay from the Lincoln Lakeshore appellation. First time ever that he works with this vineyard. Night number 8, we went to the Similkameen Valley with 100% Cabernet Sauvignon, chatting with Charlie Bessler with Course Select Estate Winery, the 2021 Cab Sauv. Last night, which was night number 9. We chatted with Evan Saunders, winemaker at Blasted Church, because we had the 2019 Nothing Sacred Bordeaux blend. So we've been touching Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, Bordeaux blend, GSM, sparkling wine. Like we've touched Syrah, many different things so far. And tonight we're going to be in the Okanagan still. And we're going to go on the Naramata bench. Why? Because you can't do a pan-Canadian showcase without showcasing the Naramata bench. Okay? And you know what? We already did Chardonnay. We already did sparkling. So what we're going to do in the white wine from the Naramata bench? Mira?
Shall we open it? Let's open it. I mean, the Naramata bench is like in the middle, right? So they can do so many things well there. One of the little known secrets is they make Merlot really well on the Naramata bench. There's some amazing Merlot from there. But okay, let's see what we've got here.
They do great Merlot. They do world-class Pinot Noir, world-class Chardonnay, and also they do a lot of different things well, including there you go. Oh, the Silva Fumé Blanc, because they can do some good Sauvignon Blanc right on the banks of the Okanagan Lake. So this is the 2023. This was just bottled, I would say probably late summer. It's not on the market yet. I was sitting with Richard De Silva tasting these wines, and I was like, holy shit, this De Silva Fumé is so good. And there's so much like it comes in couple waves. Anyway, so we've decided to put that one in our advent calendar. And guess what? Richard is in the green room. We're going to have a chat with the man, the myth, the legend in a few minutes. But I would like to know to our people who are tuning in tonight, if you have the 2023 Fumé Blanc from De Silva open. If you have it open, give us a thumbs up. What is your favorite wine from De Silva? If you know the winery very well, if you had their wine previously, leave us a comment. And at the end of the night, we're gonna have a mystery bottle for the draw today. There you go.
Dean and Karen are on it. We've put away 2 reds for later so far. The Benjamin Bridge is set to be shared with friends later this week. Awesome. As far as the advent calendar goes, amazing. Dean and Karen are going to be here next weekend when we're opening 60 plus Canadian reds from coast to coast and doing our red blends live. So
I think they're going to have the chance. They're probably going to have the chance to meet with Richard, who is in the green room, because Richard is supposed to be coming with us as well to taste these 60 plus red blends. But before we talk red blends, let's bring Richie in the house here, because I have some few questions for him. So looking forward to that.
Amazing. Oh, and Louise, happy anniversary. Drinking a bubbly. We'll try this one with a friend soon. Amazing. Happy anniversary. Richard De Silva, the man, the myth, the legend. So great to see you.
To you, everyone. Merry Christmas to everyone. Happy holidays and all that good stuff. But thank you for having me on, everyone.
Jeez, what's behind you? Are you in the tasting room?
The magic of computer technology.
I love the background. It looks sick. It looks sick. I love it. Well,
trying to up our game over here. So got great counterparts on here this week. Some great unveils this week, and so man, I got to step it up over here.
Yeah,
Right.
we had some great guests all week around here. So for everyone who are listening here, it's Richard Da Silva, owner, winemaker, vigneron at Da Silva Vineyard, located on the Ramada Bench in British Columbia. So for people who are from the eastern part of the country, who have not been to the Okanagan, so Da Silva Vineyard, it was our second Carl's Wine Club winery, BC Winery of the Year. So last year, voted by the members. We had a few epic tasting there with members as well. Richard, welcome to our Pan Canadian 12 nights of Christmas. We're now on night number 10. It's been a heck of a journey, my friend. I'll tell you one thing. It's been pretty cool. And now we're so excited to have your pre-release of Fumé Blanc. Before we talk about the wine, let's talk about the winery. Let's talk about the De Silva family. Let's talk about your brand. When did it started? And how did you end up on the Ramada Bench and why?
How do we start such a discussion? Yeah,
I
I mean,
know, right?
those that know De Silva, we have a fantastic history in the Okanagan that we're really proud of. My family's been farming here since 1955. Puts us in rare company for sure. My family's been involved in wine growing, agriculture, and since I think we're going back to the mid 1700s. So it's part of our DNA for sure. But really, though, the game got kicked up in 2006 when my wife and I decided to start our own wines, and that's where De Silva really started. Leaning onto my family's experience, the knowledge of the terroirs in the Okanagan and what the possibilities could be. But really, it really started in 2006, and then the location that you see in my great background. We started building that in 2010, and I think that's where things really, went to the next level. So we're a lot of history here, but really, it's you're learning every day, every year. So I'm on the learning curve with everyone else out here.
I would like to talk a little bit more about your family influence on the region because we know that the Okanagan was developed by immigrants, like the East Indian families, a lot in the South. But before that, the Portuguese culture was very strong in the South Okanagan, and that's where you grew up, and that's where you learn how to farm, basically.
Yeah, I think it's very much an unwritten chapter in the BC wine history that the Portuguese labor force were almost solely responsible for a lot of the building that went on in those early days. Back in the late 40s, early 50s, the Canadian government had identified the Portuguese population as a great add to the Canadian culture. There was aggressive moves by the federal government to move, Portuguese immigrants into the country, and my family ended up with 12 aunts and uncles and 4 grandparents, all in Oliver. So very few people in the Okanagan have that depth of grandparents, cousins, aunts, uncles. I mean, it's crazy.
Well, I know that every time I talk about a vineyard in the South, you always mention, oh yeah, my cousin owns it, or my cousin farms it, or my cousin something. So I know that you have lots of cousins down there who've been involved in the farming, and a lot of your source of grape also coming from some of the family members as well.
Correct. Yeah, I think it's definitely given me a leg up for a lot of my. There's a picture there. That's my grandfather in the middle, my aunt Claire and her brother. So the guy in the back, tall, he used to own the Le Vieux Pen vineyard. That's Jose Avila Jr. My grandfather was called Jose Senior. Claire, the lady on the right hand side of that photo, they used to own the Phantom Creek North Vineyard. And then the Borba family, and unfortunately, every one of those people have now passed away. My cousin Job just passed away a couple of years ago. He's the the baby on my grandfather's lap there. And that photo was taken, I believe, on the Naramata bench at one time. So yeah, it's I feel a bit of we had my last aunt passed away in Oliver 2 years ago now, and I find myself in a very kind of interesting position now as being now the patriarch of our family to represent that history now, and it's it definitely gives me a bit pause that I am one of the last of our family to kind of represent that history here. I definitely have a couple of cousins I'm working with right now, but a lot of people keep forgetting that farming was very difficult in the Okanagan. I think the winter events of the last year or two have shown a lot of farmers or even new people to the industry. It was a challenging time for many of them, and a lot of us, including myself, didn't want to be farming. Like, all we associated farming with in the Okanagan was suffering and heartache and challenges. But there's something in that. I think a lot of my cousins and myself now included now are finding ourselves going, there was a simplicity to that. There was a purity to that background. And I was really craving that. I had a business in the IT business during the early 2000s, late 90s, and I found it very soulless. And I was craving that simplicity and the connection to the land that I had enjoyed until my early 20s. And so I ended up back doing it again. And I'm very, not turning back now. It's my roots, and I'm very proud of it. And I'm very proud of my family's history here.
And so, I mean, that leads me to talk about the depth of knowledge. I mean, there's not a lot of people that I know from the industry who knows the valley north to south like you do, the pieces of dirt, who provide specific grape varietals and also purpose of each and every sub-region of our wine region here. You've been part of it, you have the connection, and that helps you to develop your own portfolio, and you know where to source the right grape for the right style of wine.
Yeah, I think certainly that it's not unique to me. I'm here on the shoulders of some great farmers that have preceded me. I've been very fortunate to be able to be there to learn from my family members and others in our industry in the early years. I think that's the history of the Okanagan. Is the best wine is still yet to be made. I think the best wine here is still the next horizon, and that comes from us really kind of drilling into these unique regions and what's special small subset of grapes really perform the best in them consistently, and that's going to be the next evolution. It may not be in my generation, but I think it's gonna happen, and hopefully I can help in that dialogue. Certainly, I don't. I'm learning just like everyone else. It's that's the thing about farming is humbling. It shows. Definitely brings out how sometimes very little you do know. So
I think you're 100% right. And I think the last 15 years is one of the biggest strides that we've done as a wine region is understanding which part of the valley, which varietals perform better in certain spot in the valley. And we've learned that probably pretty much in the last 10 years. The cold events that we just experienced in January is a part of that as well, helping us learn also maybe some spots in the valley might be to rethink which kind of grape we're planting somewhere, or it's just a one-off event would have not really an impact in our long-term knowledge.
That's a complicated thing. I think there's a danger that there's been a lot of decisions being made by a lot of pundits. Some of them are not farming here, and it's. I think, first of all, this event that happened last winter happened many times to my family. So it happened to this cold snap happened in 1956. The very first year my family started farming here, for Christ's sake. They got wiped out. It happened in 68 and 69. Happened to, and I remember distinctly as a young boy, happening in 1978. Happened in 85, happened in 1991. But there's a whole generation of wineries in the Okanagan, in BC, that are relatively new. They have less than 30 years of experience. And I don't, I think making these events, we have to prepare for them better, but these kind of events will wipe out almost anything. And so the end of the day, certainly, making better choices in site selection for sure. I mean, there's a lot of vineyards that have been planted the last 15 years that are absolute rubbish, should never have been planted. They're known, I without naming names and putting myself out there, but I mean, there's people who come in, new investor type people who've come into land in Oliver and Osoyoos, gone, holy cow, look at this land. It's a bargain. It's like, it's this kind of like a little bit of a hollow piece of dirt. And
yeah, but there's a fucking reason why no one touched it in the past.
I said, did you, like, I tell her, like, do you think that somehow you found a magic that some Portuguese farmer who's, wasn't thinking about that 40 years ago, 50 years ago? There's a reason why no Portuguese was farming in there, because if they could have done it, they would have been doing it. That's yeah, I think it's part of the learning curve. Yeah, I think there's certainly certain varieties that'll do better, and that's part of that discussion. But I think, like, you've had a stampede out the door in the Okanagan, especially the South Okanagan, where people are tearing out high value grapes that have shown amazing potential, like Syrah, for example, and planting all Cab Franc. Like, there's going to be an ocean of Cab Franc in the Okanagan in the next 4 to 5 years, which is fantastic, by the way. We do make great Cab Franc. I think it's great, but I think it's people are just knee-jerk reaction. The Cab Franc died as well, so I don't know exactly what we're saving there, but it's going to be very interesting times. I am planting almost exactly everything that I had before in the same site, and I had to replant. Yeah, Daryl, I agree. More Syrah. So we are planting some Syrah on the Narromata Bench, actually, on the new property across the way. I've been having fights with people, like, keep the Syrah in the appropriate site, okay? But the stampede has left the corral, so we've just said, forget about it. But I think it's going to be interesting times. I believe that certainly there's some varieties that do better. I mean, Pinot Noir for me, I have it on probably one of the coldest sites in the Narromata Bench, the Hind Hollow site at the bottom there, and you've seen it. I've shown it to my good friend Rob over at Black Market Wine, and he's just like stunned. I mean, the grapes lived, you know what I mean, and they lived last winter too. So yeah, I think it's a bit of both, Carl. So not to be a non-answer.
Yeah.
I'm taking a more careful approach to it. There's a reason why I planted those grapes to start with. There are people that had planted wrong grapes already in the wrong sites, and are they learning something from this experience? I don't know. And I mean, I kind of learning as I get older to be a bit more converted about my opinion on stuff like that. I don't get friends doing that way, but I think it's going to be a learning curve for our industry.
And okay, I want to talk about the Narromata Bench. I want to talk about the sub-appellation on its own and where you're located, the Blenheim Hill Vineyard and the Hidden Hollow. But let's talk about the Narromata Bench first. What makes that strip of let's say 45 kilometer long, so special? Because there's not many other sites, there's not many other sub-region in the Okanagan who are so well suited for a many diverse style of wine. We can go from Merlot, from Syrah that you're talking about. We see your name like close by Sal D'Angelo growing some Tempranillo for 15 years now, but also outstanding for Chardonnay Pinot Noir. So what makes that's the Naramata bench so versatile and so productive?
An interesting fact that it came out this year in the numbers, and Richard Unfiltered from Daryl, I'm going to have to say, just give me a couple more glasses of wine and we'll get there. But
It's too early.
really, yeah. So an Naramata bench is very unique. Actually, it has one of the largest amount of growing degree days in the valley. It's kind of an unknown fact, actually, even by me. And so the Naramata has really weathered a lot of these events far better than most other regions in the province, other than the island, of course, and the Lower Mainland. And it's turning out to be quite a unique little micro climate here in terroir, and it's certainly showed itself in the last 2 cold years how much how well it's done, actually, considering the event. So I that's a new fact to me this year, that it has consistently the higher amount of growing degree days in the interior. And the other thing is that its proximity to the lake probably has a big effect on that. And I think the moderation effect of Lake Okanagan is profound. I think we don't understand, and the last year's winter cold really brought that into focus. So yeah, and it has some very unique bits of soils on it. It's got clays, it's got shales, it's got gravels,
even some sandy pocket at some point too.
Yeah, well, like where this grape grows, it's a transition from my Chenin Blanc to the Fume. There's a strip of this quartz sand that just goes for, we haven't found the bottom of it. I'm not going to go dig and try to find it, but it goes down very deep. It could very well go down to the lake level, which would be, maybe 200-300 feet. So wow. It's quite deep. So yeah, I think combine that with the proximity to Lake Okanagan, the way the land slopes towards the lake that way, the airflow, and those kind of kaleidoscope of soil types, it's a very cool area to grow grapes. You can almost do everything here, but I find that it really shines. Like Mira was talking about, Merlot is spectacular here, and I grow Merlot, and I've grown Merlot and worked with growers that grow Merlot all over the interior, Similkameen, South Okanagan, all of Rosales. I have been able to see those grapes for probably the last 2 or 3 decades. And consistently, the Merlot here on the bench has been bang. But there's some special unique sites. For example, with Hidden Hollow, where this Fume Blanc is grown, the Sauv Blanc, is really quite special. And it's something to me that, there's some spots that have grown some of this Sauv Blanc that haven't died. And even this winter kill, which Sauv Blanc, for those that are on the channel here tonight that are growers, know Sauv Blanc is not known to be extremely hardy. It is one of the softer grape varieties, and it's done all right on our site. Sure, we didn't get a crop. Sure, we had to retrain a lot of them from the trunk up, but I had to do that to Merlot and everything else as well. So, look, I think the Sauv Blanc is probably an underrated grape on the Naramata bench. Typically, people would go and grow that on the Black Sage bench. But you look at the wines from Loire Valley, which is kind of my inspiration. If you look at Sancerre, those colder, cooler, continental growing sites, they make magical wine for a reason. And I think for me, the Puy-Fumé and Sancerre are my go-to as far as old world when we're talking about classic examples. And I draw inspiration from that when I'm doing mine out here. but with a twist, as you know. Like I like my wine to be a bit more expressive. And this Fumé Blanc is that for sure. There's no subtlety to this wine. It's definitely a wine that is intense and lots of flavor, lots of hedonistic pleasure, which I think is fantastic for a wine like this. My Chardonnay is a bit more reserved. This wine is definitely coming out to be enjoyed. That's for sure.
And it's interesting because that new 2023, I mean, it's coming in two phases. We experienced it together, how it comes out fruity, almost tropical to start, and whop, it turns into citrus and minerality after that on the back end of it. And you're like, whoa, what just happened here? So really intriguing, that 2023.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely giving my Chenin Blanc a run for the money. I think it's the, there was a time that that I was thinking, do I really want to do this Sauv Blanc, Fumé Blanc thing? And I'm glad I stuck with it, because it's done so well for us, and that style. And it's funny, and it's kind of interesting. The winemaking on that wine and the Chardonnay are done exactly the same. They're both stainless steel fermented, and they're both placed in about 60% brand new American oak. Okay, for only 2 months though, so 8 weeks. So quite a small contact time, and then we let it sit in the leaves for a while. The Chardonnay stays fairly reserved and structured. The Sauv Blanc wants to party, and I think that's fantastic. And I think I now have a bit of a following now because it's so expressive and it's so kind of unique that way, that it's not grassy and austere, and it's got that lemon lime, honey lemon lime kind of citrus note going to it. That bit of that baking spice you get from the American oak barrels makes it for a super interesting wine. And I'm actually doing a winemaker's dinner this week over the Christmas holidays at the Sun Peaks Resort. Are
you featuring that wine?
Correct. I'm featuring that wine in our Cab Sauv. So the Fumé Blanc is on that tasting, and it's such a great wine with food.
Do you have any idea what chef is cooking with that Sauv Blanc?
I'm going to tell you that right now.
I can't wait to hear about that, because I'm fascinated by this.
So he's doing grilled pear and prosciutto salad with the arugula, buffalo mozzarella, and a balsamic glaze with it.
There you go.
Yeah, so I'm pretty stoked about
that.
And
the saltiness of the prosciutto with the umami of the balsamic, absolutely. That wine's gonna cut through. The minerality of that wine's gonna absolutely burst on the finish of that. Oh man. I might have to postpone my trip to on the island and maybe go to Sun Peak instead.
Come on up. We got more
you got what? You got the penthouse? You said you rented the penthouse?
Yeah. Farming is not that good yet, but we're working on it. But yes, like Mira's saying there, I mean, for me, what would I pair with this? I mean, oysters would be fantastic with this, with a little bit of that brininess from like a bit of like with some of that horseradish on it or some of that.
Yeah.
And just
you know what? I would like sear scallop. Yeah. That little like natural saltiness of the sea minerality, and like that nice fruit with that, like seared scallop would be perfect as well.
I think it actually would really go well, and I think this is something that I've been really craving, is some crab or lobster with it. I think it has that kind of, it's got that body to it that sort of reminds you of Chardonnay, and a bit of that kind of fuller mouthfeel to it. So I think I'm waiting for a reason. Maybe New Year's. We have to work on that. Maybe. get some lobster somewhere and see if we can actually try that for New Year's, because I think that wine with that would be fantastic as well. So that's just part of my.
You know what? I would support that. As a fine dining background wine director, I would totally support that idea if my chef would bring that over. Absolutely. So you kind of
I heard lobster, so I have to intervene. The last 2 years we ordered lobster for my birthday from Nova Scotia, and we didn't do it this last year. I don't know. We were traveling. Your winery got trashed by the
yeah. I didn't want to bring the point. Mira, I promise that I will not bring that point to the interview.
But this is part of why we didn't have lobster this year.
That's true.
Having it on New Year's is a very good idea if you can find it there.
Well, let's quickly answer one of your guest questions there. What makes fumet? And so a little bit of history on it. It's a bit of now it wasn't Robert.
It's Robert Mondavi.
But it wasn't him actually. It was his one of his counterparts that actually coined the term Fumet Blanc, and I forgot who the guy's name was. But most people associate it with Robert Mondavi. But it was another guy that he went there with to the Loire that absconded the name, and I don't remember what the guy's name is. But it was made famous by Robert Mondavi. And in California, and I think that would be the late 70s, early 80s, I think it was.
Yeah, late 70s. You're right.
And so what happened there was that California had an ocean of Sauv Blanc, and so they were looking for a way of sexing up the name a bit and trying to make some kind of. And Robert Mondavi was all about doing marketing and all the spinning stuff, and so they had got inspired when they were in Pouilly Fumé to do that. So what happened was. They came up with this name and it became famous out of California. It's now actually a legal term for Sauv Blanc. You can use Fumet Blanc or Sauv Blanc, and it's a legal term for Sauvignon Blanc. But to answer Dean's question, it's about typically, I would think from most winemakers are making a statement about how they're making their Sauvignon Blanc. You have Sauv Blanc, or you have Sauv Blanc, let's say like in Bordeaux, for example, with Semillon or some of that is those white Bordeauxs. In the case of this, when you see a winemaker like myself putting the word Fumet Blanc on it, I'm saying that the wine has had oak contact with it. And typically what you're going to get in this wine, a bit of the baking spice, a little bit of toastiness from the oak.
A little bit more roundness in the mid body.
It's also style. So it's really describing a style and a winemaking process. Typically, I have never seen anybody who's used Fumet Blanc. I've never tried a wine where they've used it, that they weren't using oak or trying to create that profile wine. So typically what you're saying, if you see a Fumet Blanc on the label, you can almost assume that it's been in an oak barrel, oak contact, probably some yeast stirring in it. And the wine is going to be certainly a lot more of a fuller style, a little bit more, a bit more expressive than a typical Sauv Blanc.
Yeah, the stainless steel Sauvignon Blanc is mostly more grassy, a little bit more herbaceous, and that Fumet is a little bit more rounder with like the baking spice, like you're mentioning. And I think to this day, Richard, it's still one of the greatest marketing success in the wine history, that chapter of bringing Fumet Blanc to the name of the wine. I mean, after that, like the U.S. couldn't keep freaking Sauvignon Blanc enough. They were like, everyone was all about it. One of the greatest marketing success in the history of the wine business. Incredible.
It was fantastic. I mean, unfortunately, I think what happened for a bit of it, sort of like with a lot of the stuff with the Chardonnay from California, we turned the dial way too far on the other side.
That's
so the
wines
wines became over-extracted, over-oaked, over everything. And it's typically in fashion with our North Americanisms. We kind of, often it was too much oak. And I think it was done that way in the past. And I think for me, put away a bunch of people in Chardonnay, for example, one of the most versatile, most planted grape varietals in the world, but because some marketing or sales teams decide let's crank the volume because it sells. Away we went. So no, I think there's a lot of restraint being shown by a lot of people. This wine is definitely more lush, not because of the oak though, but just because of the ripeness of these grapes in 2023 and the site on the Hidden Hollow, they were ripe. And so it's being expressed in the wine. That wine has all sorts of body to it. And I'm super stoked about it. It's going to be a bit of a mark for me to try to attain.
And one of my, and so also is what it's so intriguing with your Fumé. I mean, I have a bottle of 22 here and a bottle of 23. These wines are different. It's not like if you came up with a recipe that every year we have the exact same wines, vintage in, vintage out. Absolutely not. I mean, these wines are very different. You just extract what Mother Nature gave you. Probably a little bit more ripeness in the 23 vintage. 22 was harvested maybe a little earlier or maybe a little later, but colder season. I mean, it's more of a representation of the vintage than a recipe.
Yeah, like I don't know what so Daryl's just a reference to alcohol. What's the alcohol in the 12 and 22 and the 23? Does you see that on the bottle?
So I have 13.9 for the 23 and 12.7 for the 22. See, reflection of the vintage, right?
So yeah, so to Daryl's point, it's that glycerol effect that alcohol creates in the wine is definitely present in that. And I think for me, one of the magics of being part of smaller wineries, I mean, for your club members, is that you're not going to have every year is a journey. I think that's part of the thing is, the wines will always be great wines and good wines, solid wines, but they're reflective of a vintage. You can taste the year, the place that it was grown every year in that bottle. Unlike, say, a commercial winery that has a certain style of wine, and you're doing wine by numbers, it has to be exactly the same. It's going to be 12.7 alcohol every single year with the same chemical spectrogram. What you're tasting with small wineries like myself, and many of the wineries that you showcase at Carl's Wine Club, is true wines that reflect a piece of place and time. And I think that's you will have favorites. I have favorites in my own wines at different vintages for sure. And so I'll have people who will love this vintage because they're just like, wow, this is intense. It's got lots of body. But some other people might like the 22 or the 21. But that's part of the journey is to, no spectrogramming says that's the sum. No, it's my palate, and that's about it. I think it's. I want to taste that. I want to taste that variety. I want to taste that vintage. It's a story in a bottle, in a sense. It's a story of what was going on in my vineyard that year. It was a story of what was going on in my cellar that year. What was motivating me that year? I think it's for De Silva. The wine is reflective not just of the time and place. It's also reflected probably my mood at the time. Like, where was I going with it? What was I wanting to see in my wine? What was motivating me in some ways, because that has a big important part of expressing like what you're growing, and I would hate. I think this is why so many great wineries, cult wineries in California, have struggled. They're now 2 or 3 generations in front of us, where founders and winemakers or owners and winemakers are guiding their wineries really struggle with succession, because what happens is how do you capture someone like myself that doesn't have a number? I'm making my wine by the feeling I'm feeling, like I my mood, my senses, what I feel like in the vineyard.
Gut feeling, right?
Well, talent, like the people that make the wine. I mean, that's part of the wine. Like,
yeah,
it's not a spreadsheet. It's not a spreadsheet. It's called emotion, right?
like, but people call it a soul, and I think that's what a lot of the small wineries you represent. I mean, I think, come back to guys like, Iliad or any of these, Keith and Thomas. Those guys have a soul. The wine represents that soul. That's what makes the wine interesting and magical. And I think that's a struggle when Thomas moves on one day, or if I move on one day, and someone says, how do you recreate that in someone new? And it's you have to be working with someone very closely for a very long time for them to take the essence of what you bring to that. And it's something that's in the back of my mind, because I've seen the greats, guys like from California, Harlan, and some of them have moved on from their projects down there, whether it's Silver Oaks or whether it's Chateau
Yeah.
Madeleine.
Camus is the best example. When they started in 74, I mean, Joe Wagner Sr. used to work the vines every day tasting throughout the vineyard. It became so big. And Joe Jr. now sold the winery, and it's completely different. The scale, the emotion. Yeah.
Twilight does make it magical.
Well, I mean, we all agree with Daryl on that one. Yeah, Twilight make the winery magical. Absolutely.
She keeps me in line from spending whatever pennies we have left this year on another tractor or something. So yes, she's she's responsible for us still being here. But
hey, speaking about emotion, and when do you like to walk the vineyard the most? Is it something first thing in the morning? Do you get most of it more in the afternoon when it's warmer? What is your go-to time to go walk Hidden Hollow Vineyard?
Early morning, 4:30,
early morning,
5 o'clock in the morning of summer. Wow. It's a magical time in a vineyard. It's things are just waking up. There's a cool crispness to it. It's my least favorite time of walking in the vineyard is probably mid-afternoon. It's hot. It's kind of uncomfortable. But there's something about in the morning, in that light in the morning, that just gives it a kind of a magic to it. And nothing's better than at 4:30 in the morning. It's super clear out. It's crisp out. The air is fresh. You feel things about ready to wake up. You feel vibrant, and you feel it in the vineyard as well, right? And I think that's what really motivates me, is that time of the morning. Most people cringing at 4:30 in the morning. They want to be still in bed, but we'll start here. We'll Cruz will show up on site here with me. My great team. Two of them, myself, but 4 o'clock, 4:30 in the morning, and start work then, because it's fantastic. The other time is really late in the evening. The sun's gone down, starting to cool off again. And you see a buzz. Nature is kind of doing its thing. So you get these two spectrums: early morning, late evening, are magical times in the vineyard. Daytime, I guess, our friends in South America got to figure it should be snoozing and not sitting out in the vineyard.
Hey, Richard, before I let you go, I know a lot of our members knew what happened to you in August, and I'm sure they will be interested to see how do you guys recover from that really bad luck of an incident with the water main. The city water main broke down right in front of the winery and damaged, not only created dramatic damage to your winery. There you go. Thanks, Mira. That was the sinkhole.
That's the back of the building. Yeah, it's obviously we haven't got any coverage yet. It's going to have to be litigated now. Insurance company, everybody's kind of absconded from any kind of assistance. We're just very fortunate to have an amazing group of businesses in town that stepped up to help us get up and running as soon as possible. We're still down in the middle of summertime, 3 weeks. It will take us years to rebuild from that. The cost of that is horrendous. But what do you do? I mean, at the end of the day, you can let it defeat you, or you can rise to the challenge and take it on straightforward. And I'm not one to shun away from a challenge. And my wife has been amazing. She's been, beside my, beside me the whole time, and she's had to make some incredible sacrifices personally to be here with us side by side with me. And I owe a massive gratitude to Twyla for for being there and us walking that journey together. But yeah, it has certainly not been interesting. Not interesting, but it has been very interesting. But it hasn't been easy. But I think ultimately, I've seen this happen to my family. I always tell people the story at most of my wine dinners that we have to guests is that most of my family died poor or broken. I mean, that was farming. I mean, people, it's very hard when you're in this place and you see all the architecture and the beautiful shiny labels and artwork and picturesque vineyard sites, that farming is truly a very hard lifestyle. Especially if you're a sustenance farmer like my wife and I. It's our sole income. It's not a vanity project for us.
Yeah.
And so these events really set you back. But at the end of the day, we know our team is there. We continue to pay our staff while we're shut down for 3 weeks, so they didn't get financially hurt. We took the responsibility because they needed that. Some of them were students that needed that middle of summertime. They need that money to go to school. And so we took it upon ourselves to continue that with them. And our team is still intact. People are excited for next year. And we're ready to celebrate the new year. And by the way, Twyla just brought over a glass. If Twyla wants to come over here and say hi, a sparkling of our.
Yay!
There you go. That's the girl. Here you go, Twyla. Cheers. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Hey, guys, we have, with that event, you missed the trip, the Thomas Batchelder event in Ontario that you guys were supposed to come with us. But I believe that you're going to be with us for the Pan Canadian 3.0 at Sue and staff. And I can't wait to travel the wine country again with the two of you, because last time we did it, it was epic. And I'm looking forward to June 2025 to travel again to Ontario with you guys.
So this is the magic, everybody. I like that green screen thing. It's like, hey, I can't see my hand. Yes, it's the 22 Isabella in our glass. And unfortunately for some of these wines, the Fumé Blanc, the Isabella, because of what happened last winter, we're not going to have those wines again for another 2 or 3 years, possibly. So if people are looking to buy those wines, if they're going to be, we're probably going to be another 2 years before we get that vintage back again. So,
and even better, the 23 Fumés available only on Carl's Wine Club.
We want to wish everyone, the Carl's Wine Club members, all of you, for all the great support. And from Twyla and I, and the doggies over here, I guess they want to get in a picture too. But we want to just thank you, everyone, and hope. Come here, girl. Anyway, got all our dogs here, and. Nice. Thank you, everybody, for your support. And my wife and I are there she goes.
There you go. Good girl. Good girl. And guys, we're going to see you on December 28th for the Red Blend Marathon. I can't wait to host you guys. We're going to have a lot of fun. We have now over 60 different red blends from all over the country. It should be a pretty good evening. So I'll see you then, okay? Twyla, Rachel.
Guys, lots of love. Merry Christmas to everyone. Cheers.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas. Thank you so much, you guys. Amazing.
Cheers.
Oh, they're the best.
They're absolutely the best. Absolutely the best. The wine, I mean, they've been one of my very favorite wineries across the country for years. And it's 2023. Oh, go ahead, Mira.
The 2023 is amazing. There's so many things we didn't mention. I mean, the 2022 version of this was what we had at the Pan Canadian. Am I right?
You're right. You're absolutely right. Because the first year we had the Chenin Blanc. The 2022 was the Pan Canadian 2.0 wine. You're so right, Mira. Absolutely.
there's so many things. The next thing is they were our Members' Choice Winery of the Year. Our
Last
second
year,
year,
not this past year, but the previous one before Riverstone. Yeah, they were sandwiched between Riverstone and Black Market.
Yeah, right after Black Market, they were our Members' Choice Winery of the Year. We did the Winery of the Year reunion there with members, and we got to walk those vines before
Harvest.
No, but before all this crazy stuff happened to the weather, where a lot of these vines had to be pulled up and they're no longer. So we got to go during harvest, pick grapes with Richard and Twyla and the crew and taste those grapes side by side. So the 2023 grapes we tasted side by side with the 2022 wine.
That's true. I forgot that. You're so good, Mira. Yeah, we tasted the grapes that made the wine in front of you tonight. We tasted them, off the vines before they get crushed and bottled.
So Winery of the Year, they were at the Pan Canadian both times. Richard was one of the people that when he heard about the idea for the Pan Canadian, he's like, I'm all in. How can I support? He wanted to help, sponsor if there's expenses and stuff. He's amazing.
Also, his wine was poured at the back vintage dinner at the Vintage Conservatory in Toronto last
I don't have that picture here, but he came out with us to that too.
Yeah, he was him and Ilya Senchuk were both guest speaker at that dinner.
Yeah.
And guess what, Mira? Another cool thing is Marc Nadeau from l'Académie du Vin has done another dinner last month. And, that's one of my favorite pictures. Marcel Morgenstern here, one of the best in the biz, and Richard De Silva. It was at Bella Terra after the first ever Pan-Canadian wine masterclass. It was one of my favorite picture ever. But anyway, another cool fact. 3 weeks ago, Marc Nadeau, one of the greatest international wine curator in the country, owner of l'Académie du Vin, did another international wine with a few Canadian wines in it and featured the Silva in the dinner. And guess what? It was among 1999 Solaya, 2006 Sassicaia, 2006 Tignanello, all of these great Super Tuscan, and Richard's Merlot was in that tasting, and he was voted the most interesting wine of the night by unanimously, and 3 of the 12 guests voted for the De Silva, the best wine of the night.
Yeah.
So this is pretty freaking cool. This is among international icons.
Yeah, amazing.
I think we had like 2 hours for this interview tonight. I think we cut ourselves short because
and then there's more. There's more. Okay, so they have also on site the longest standing. Oh, I'm gonna mute you.
Sorry, our 16-year-old at this party needs to be picked up.
Okay. Well, they have the longest standing collaboration between a winery and a chef on site. So they have a restaurant, The Kitchen by Aboul Adame. Aboul could be running a 5-star Michelin star kind of restaurant.
But there's not more than 3 stars from Michelin, so let's keep it at 3.
Well, a 5-star restaurant or a Michelin star, right? 1 sec.
He's cool, yeah. Okay, just put me alone on the screen and I'll keep going. Yeah, so that's our 16-year-old now is in an age to go to parties. So he had one of his Christmas party tonight. So now, I promised him to pick him up at 6 Pacific. And now I think he's telling mom, hey, dad is not here yet.
Yeah, you got to go. But okay, so I wanted to mention about the restaurant. Amazing. One of the few restaurants in the Okanagan where you can go and sit down and have flights of wine from the winery and have some of the best food.
Oh, to my opinion, this is the best restaurant in the Okanagan Valley. That dish there, the shrimp dish is my favorite dish.
We dream about that all the time. It's simple, but it's so fresh and so well done. It's so good. I mean, simple stuff like These are like Portuguese bean salad, but it's so well done. It's freaking outstanding. So we just love going there for that. And then the last thing I'll mention is they're one of the innovators on this space as well. The first winery we know of to do serious premium wine.
Premium wine in the box. I mean, we had a picture. We have a member who traveled to Costa Rica with a box of De Silva Rosé a couple weeks ago. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Really cool to see that. Okay, and last thing I want to mention is we had Dylan and Cavell, who were just commenting on here, stopped by here a few hours ago, and we had a blast. So Karen, Dean, you guys are here next weekend. You've got to stop by. They had the whole tour. Look, in our garden, there's still roses, if you can believe that, in the Okanagan right now. And we had French onion soup. I got to say, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad.
Yeah, Mira whipped this morning a nice homemade from scratch onion soup. It was absolutely killer. I had with that a nice glass of Paz Quarry Road Chardonnay and a nice rosé as well. I mean, yeah, killer lunch, Mira. You absolutely crushed it.
I made the soup with 2 cups of Intersection wine, and I do think we're going to hear a little more about Intersection soon because we're going to be featuring them in the club as well, right?
I mean, we're going to showcase the 2021 vintage, which was great for the Rhone varietals. So we're going to showcase some Viognier, some Marsanne, some Roussanne, and all of that. So yeah, Intersection will be our first feature of 2025. So get ready for that. Before that, we're going to do our top 10 wine of the year. But tonight, it's our night number 10 of our epic pan-Canadian Advent calendar. And we featured the Silva Estate Winery, the Silva Vineyards and Winery, and their new pre-release of Fumé Blanc. If you're interested, if you're intrigued, it's only available here. So on our website, Mira's putting that up right now. You can order your own Fumé Blanc, the 2023. I give it, what's the score that I gave it, Mira? 92. 92 points, beautifully rich and textured and so many layers. So you can order right here.
Yes.
Night number 10, tomorrow, the second last of our 12 nights of Christmas, we are going to be in Niagara for a back vintage wine. So that's the hint for tomorrow. And yeah.
So we're ending it with a bit of a bang. I mean, the wrapping is all similar, right? Like all these bottles will wrap similarly. But starting tonight, these wines are only available through Carl's Wine Club through this Advent calendar. And if you want to order some, we're going to send a note on the 24th once they're all revealed. And you can pack your own mixed 6-pack, mixed case of these, and we'll send them out to you the following week. So it's a pretty special, fun way to learn about these different wines and maybe find a new favorite, right?
Absolutely. There's some world-class wine in there. And you can revisit these interviews on our YouTube channel as well when you taste your wines. And anyway, we had so much fun to do that. Tonight was one of my very favorite. I love Richard deeply. I love Twyla. I love all the wine from De Silva. They're right across the lake from us. We had the privilege to develop an amazing relationship with these people. So thank you, Richard and Twyla, and Canadian wine lovers, Carl's Wine Club members. See you.
We gotta do our draw. Hey.
Oh, yeah, your draw. Your draw. Okay, I need to go. I'll let you finish.
So I will finish. This is for our mystery bottle. We will find out what you like, and then Carl will surprise you with something that we think you haven't tried, but that you might like. So here we go. I will, hopefully I've got everyone's names here. If you haven't commented, now's your chance. Now's your chance to be added to the draw. Like, sure to leave a quick comment because I'm going to hit spin on this wheel in 1 second here.
Okay, I gotta go.
All right. See you. Thanks, Carl Boucher.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow night.